What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ivan back at you with another four-wheeler review type video. I asked you guys on Twitter, what sort of four-wheeler accessories would you guys like me to review? I asked you to pick a rifle, a pistol caliber carbine, and a handgun. And I gave you a little poll and you guys answered. The winners were my Biden's Bane U-bar build, which doesn't have a handguard, but that's okay, it's an optional part. The Tac Daddy, which is cool, and I have a tank brake on it because that makes it more accurate or something. And then I have a handgun. You guys said you wanted to see the high power and 357 big. So you can see right there. The focus might not be right, but that says big. 357 big, that's what that caliber is. And so we're going to shoot them. I figure we'll just do I'll prattle and then talk and then prattle and then talk, and you guys will thumbs up and like it, and my Utreon in the bio, and you'll like that. Big thumbs, yeah, do that guy. One of those. But I think without much more talking, we'll start with the 357, the big gun. That's the 357 big power. Put our camera on the tripod. So the interesting thing about this is, of course, the 40 Smith & Wesson high power slides are a little bit wider, a little bit beefier, have an extra locking lug. They're reinforced, right? And meant for 40 Smith & Wesson, but this company, KKM Precision, makes 357 big chambered ones. If you don't know what 357 big is, it's big. That's what they designed it. They made it. They made 357 big. That's what it is. And when you shoot it, you can notice that it hurts your hands and it hurts your ears and it hurts everything. And it's kind of obnoxious, but that's what makes it good. That's what makes it a good caliber. Good Lord. It's very kicky. And that's good. And the Dugan Ashley said something about nerve damage. And that's true, this is nerve damage. Good God. You guys probably didn't see it, but I shot steel there, and it kicked, the jacket from the bullet came back and hit the four-wheeler. You might have heard it hit the four-wheeler. That was kind of funny. Good God. So yeah, 10 round mags. This is one of the Browning, I think they call them mousetrap mags because it has a little ejector guy there. Normally it just craps the mag straight out of the bottom of the gun. This frame was printed in nylon though, and I was dialing in my nylon settings for the printer that printed this, so it printed just slightly, ever so slightly tight, so the mag is somewhat retained. In the 1980s, that's what you wanted. You wanted the mag to kick out exactly that far, which is perfect. This is one of these. And it's got the, see if I can show you. It's one of these that's got the thing. Maybe you can see the thing. If you can't, that's a skill issue on your part. You should get better at finding the dot, idiot. But it shoots pretty nice, except for the fact that 357 SIG is very snappy. People complain about 40 being snappy. I've always found 357 SIG to be significantly snappier. But that's about it for this gun. It's a lot of fun to shoot, but because 357 SIG is relatively expensive, I don't get out and shoot this setup a lot, but it's fun. Next up we have the Tactical Daddy. I just grabbed this mag out of my pile of Glock mags. It looks like we maybe have 13 rounds or so in it. I put the tank brake on there because it does good. You'll see. It makes it do good when it does the thing. Make sure our dot's on here. All right, we'll do a little bit of Tac Daddying. We're out there. Tac Daddy is a lot of fun. I find it sort of comparable to the Mac 11 in terms of recoil and how it actually ends up handling. However, I prefer it because I like the tube aesthetics a little bit better. You can get the kits on MAF, by the way. That's cool. If you're a cool guy, you can get your wind kit chimes that make the noise. And on a windy day like today, you can hear them chime. That wasn't planned, by the way. That was comedic genius. The gun shoots pretty good. They make them with longer barrels as well. Of course, this is without a handguard. They make printable handguards and other handguards that mount up with standard AR barrel nuts. This is sort of like the early version, and I just like to shoot it like that because it's cool. But yeah, they're pretty nice little guns. But I'll go ahead and reload some magazines here, and we'll shoot some more. All right, I figured that we'd do the Tac Daddy again. This Magpul mag holds 24 rounds of the worst quality Russian ammo you can possibly hope to find. They called it premium, and that was a darn lie. The regular steel case stuff is better. But I'm thinking we could do a... Ooh, look at that. Look at that. Isn't that sporty? Isn't that sporty? You guys can see me miss. Isn't that cool? Ah, fuck. I got hit by a ricochet. So the fun thing about shooting steel as it starts to swing more is the ricochets will tend to come back towards you. Just hit me in the pant leg. It doesn't hurt any more than an airsoft BB for you people who wonder what it's like when you get hit by... Essentially what happens is full metal jacket ammo will hit a steel target, especially ones that are pockmarked like that. The bullet will turn inside out, and you know, the lead will hit the target, turn the jacket inside out, and the jacket will want to hop back towards you as a result of the lead splashing and sort of pushing it back towards you. And I wish I could find where it went. I felt it skip off my leg. Yeah, I can't see it. But essentially it's just the copper part of the jacket will come back towards you, and it'll hit you like an airsoft BB, which is why safety glasses are always a good idea, especially if you're making your own four-wheeler accessories. Yeah, but that's the Tac Daddy for us. Maybe go back and shoot it at a longer distance later. But in the meantime, actually, my OCD will kill me, right? Because it's 24 round mags, which is just awful. Because if it was 25, you'd get 2 mags per box of 50 rounds. And so we can do a real good brace. And there you go. That's the Tac Daddy for now. Let's go. I'm thinking we'll scoot back to 50 yards and see if I can hit anything with the 357 Big from there. And now we have the 357 Big Power here at 50 yards. I'll get my cope out of the way early. This red dot is sighted in for this gun when it's in 40. I know it hits to the right when it's in 9. No idea where it hits with this 357 barrel. I haven't actually shot it with the 357 barrel since I put the red dot on. It was close enough, I'd say, at 25 yards, but of course 50 is a whole different game. I'll try a couple shots on the big target from here, and then I'll turn the camera so that you guys can see what I'm not hitting. I think that hit. Yeah, it definitely hit. So it's close enough to hit the big target. Let me get this camera all finely adjusted. Oh yeah, look at that. That's professional cinema quality. All right, I'll try the big gong again. That hit it. It's quite a slug. We'll try one of the little gongs just to see what happens. The one on the right. That hit it. So I think 357 SIG barrel, it locks up really tight like the 40 barrel. The 9mm barrel doesn't lock up quite as tight, so I think it's probably just dead on relative to where 40 hits. Yeah, baby. Yep. That's kind of funny. There you go. That's 10 hits at 50 yards. That's because 357 Big is technically a heat-seeking bullet caliber, and everybody knows steel's hot because when you touch it, it's hot. When it's hot and it's warm and you touch it, it's hot. So the 357 Big has heat-seeking capabilities. That's what it is. No, but I have done a lot of sear work with this particular gun. And while this slide, I never actually fit to this sear, they do fit together very, very nicely. And this slide, if you're a high-power aficionado, you may notice it's got 2 holes for the sear lever. That's because I put the competition, the GP sear lever in this gun to make the trigger pull lighter weight but longer distance, which I think sum total I don't like that much. I prefer the shorter trigger pull even if it's heavier. But so long as you concentrate really hard on what you're doing, you can land hits at relatively long distances. Speaking of which, I think we'll back up to 100. Try this one more time just to see if I can show off. And then shoot a rifle. Shoot our Biden's Bane there as well. Alright, so we're back here at 100 yards. I did fire a couple of rounds from the bench to confirm it is capable of hitting the big target when you hold dead on it. If you flinch, obviously it misses, but rounds where I was sure I wasn't flinching, it did bring the target. With the wind, it is somewhat tricky to hear the target. There was a couple times where I was like, am I sure? And then looked through the scope on the rifle to see, yes, the gong is moving. I did hit it. So we will stick to the big gong rather than shooting the little ones. This is because the size of the dot in the window is actually bigger than the size of the little targets down there. So hitting them would be tricky because you're just obscuring them with the dot at that point. Of course, it's not something that this handgun's meant to do, but fun to do anyway. And my final excuse I will get out of the way is my hands and wrist are starting to hurt already. This thing is rather violent, and to put it in perspective, this thing weighs between a Glock 19 and a Glock 26. So it's a really lightweight gun, owing to how thin the slide is compared to a Glock, as well as, it's much more hollow on the inside compared to a Glock. And as a result of that, it is very lightweight. So because of that, it is like really snappy, and the stupid ambi safety is just biting into my thumb. It's kind of unfortunate. So that's my excuses. I am absolutely flinching by this point, so I'm just gonna see if I can muscle through it. But no promises. Don't be mean to me in the comments if I can't hit. If I can't hit, then it's because the bullets, they're not good. It's not my fault. Flinched that one just underneath it. I saw the dirt move. That one I felt good about and hit. I felt good about that one, but did not hit. Hit. It's on the left side of it. Oh, that might have broke the edge. Like that might have skimmed the bottom of the target, because I think it hit it, but it didn't ring it very loud at all. That one I'll leave up to you. Hold that one to the right. Got it. Got it. I'm not sure on that one. I felt very confident in that one. It sounded like it hit something. It may have been just under the target again. Not entirely sure. But I'm pretty happy with that. For as tired as my hand is of shooting this stupid thing, that's pretty respectable, at least for me, for what I'm capable of, for what I expect of myself, right? I like 357 SIG, if nothing else, right? Let's do a talk moment. We're gonna talk. So I like 357 SIG, if nothing else, for like a flinch and recoil trainer, right? If you've ever only shot like maybe 100 rounds at a time and then gone home, you may not have experienced it, depending on what you shoot, right? If it's all big bore stuff, you've definitely experienced it, but it's something that I've heard referred to, and I think is aptly named shooter's fatigue, where there's just sort of a limit where you've done enough shooting that you're just going to be shaky and you're going to shoot like shit anyway. And most people would stop at that point, and that's probably the reasonable thing to do. But I am at least willing to entertain an argument where muscling on through shooter's fatigue, like once you've shot enough that you get to the point that you start shooting like shit, how good can you then still force yourself to shoot? From my experience, I've shot with people who are, phenomenal shots, much better than me. I've shot with people who are like cop level shots, right? Like embarrassingly bad. And from what I've seen, once everybody has shooter's fatigue sets in, of course, the more you train, the longer you can go before it starts to affect you. But once it sets in, everybody shoots on a much closer to level playing field. And so, as a result of that, I think 357 SIG is an interesting way to train yourself to that limit quicker, right? With a 9mm, I can probably shoot 300-400 rounds, depending on the handgun, right? With snappier, lighter weight 9s, of course, it sets in much sooner, but I don't know, with something like a Glock 17, it shoots soft enough. You can shoot all day, and you may never get to that point that you're just so shaky, and your hands are sore, and your wrist hurts, and all this other bitch-made stuff, right? But 357 SIG will get you there in a hurry. With a gun this light, especially, I haven't shot this 357 SIG stuff much at all recently. With a gun this light, it definitely did get to me fairly quick. I think I've maybe shot 70, 80 rounds looking at my ammo box there. I shot like 80 rounds of it today. And it's gotten me a little bit fatigued. So I think I like 357 SIG for that. As well as, of course, from a standpoint of, would it do the job, right? If that steel target was somebody and I was trying to make them a more different sort of type of somebody, like, absolutely, it would be fantastic at that, right? Because whenever you look at it on paper, at least, it's 9mm that's just doing 400-ish foot per second better for a given bullet weight. So that's certainly not anything to scoff at. So that's pretty much my spiel for 357 SIG. I like it. It's a useful tool for training. You can shoot 4 or 5 mags through a snappy 357 SIG and then switch to your 9 and be entertained by how bad you shoot, just because the hand-mind connection where you're telling yourself not to flinch is easily fatigued with something that's much more snappy. Your mind stops trusting you that it's not going to hurt your hand that much when you pull the trigger. Anyway, that's my musings on shooter's fatigue. And of course it exists with rifles too, it's not just a handgun thing. And if you've ever gone and shot sporting clays with shotguns, growing up we would go and do 200 or 300 rounds of 12 gauge in a day. That's where I became most familiar with, and I think shooter's fatigue is the biggest problem, because in shotguns, right, you have to track moving targets. By the time you've pulled that trigger like 200 times in that day, you really don't want to be tracking targets anymore. You want to go home is what you want to do. And so you'll be tracking targets and stopping the gun before you shoot, and your leads just fall to crap, and you'll just shoot straight at stuff, and if you hit it, great, and if you don't, who cares? Like, shooter's fatigue is a real phenomenon, and I encourage you, if you've not shot enough to experience it, maybe do that. It's an interesting thing, right? And maybe not realistic, right? If you ever have to defend yourself, it's very unlikely you're going to be shooting 200 or 300 rounds in defense of yourself. If you are, probably a gun was the wrong choice. You needed something bigger. But all the same, from a training perspective, or if you're a competition shooter, right? I'm certain you've run into it. Sporting clays is meant to be a competition sport, but at that same stroke, any sort of competition shooting, if you shoot enough, you've run into the point where it's like, even though it's something you want to take seriously, your body, your mind controlling your hands, like, stops taking it so seriously and will like intentionally throw for you. I don't know. That's my musings on that. That's enough talking. Talking's dumb and stupid. We'll switch to the rifle here and then shoot some of the steel with the rifle. All right, Gamer Raiders, and for our last gun that we'll be shooting, we have a Biden's Bane. Got 20 rounds in this magazine because 223 comes in boxes of 20. I normally have a 10-round mag and sort of rest it off of the bag. Of course, I'm just going to mag pod now because didn't bring the bag and didn't bring the 10-round mag because I'm thinking ahead. I'll just go ahead and run the steel back and forth. I never got this thing terribly well sighted in, and I'm convinced this scope moves on its own. Probably because I put it on a 308 and it broke something internally at that point. I had it on a 22 and it did move around on a 22, but then I put it on a 9 and it moved on the 9. So no guarantee what it'll do here, and like I said, never really got it sighted in very well. So we'll go ahead and do what we can. I guess one last note, this upper is printed in glass-filled nylon, and I'm not going to do a heat deflection test on it like I did with the PLA upper, because I was just sort of satisfied with the results of the PLA test. Maybe I'll change my mind one day, but that's not likely, because that's a lot of ammo to spend just to find out, yes, polymer gets soft when it gets hot, and nylon would take more hot to get more soft. Anyway, go ahead, get through this mag, and then send you guys to do something else, like subscribe to go to my Utreon. It's that direction, you can do that. Anyway, go ahead and I'll smack the steel. Uh-oh, skill issue. This thing moves around an awful lot for a mag pole, a mag rest on a mag pole mag. How's that for a tongue twister? I think you guys can see the targets there. If not, I don't care. Deal with it. Go ahead and finish this mag off. Oh, I pulled that one way to the left. Mag rest is all wiggly. Alright, I see what I'm doing. I think I've managed to confirm part of why this scope moves around. The crosshairs are getting more and more tilted this way, and I have all the bolts on the cap torqued to spec. I think something on this scope is different, because the crosshairs were straight up and down, and now they're clocked over. Anyway, that's the Biden's Bane. I'll put like a real scope on this sometime and take it to 400 yards. That's also why it doesn't have a handguard, because I'm just intending to sort of bench rest this and test what sort of accuracy you can squeeze out of a printed upper. Anyway, that's pretty much the gist of this video. Thank you to everybody on Twitter who liked and decided in the poll what gun I should shoot. It was actually kind of fun. If you guys want to do that in the comments and say what gun of mine you want to see me shoot more of, I'm always open to doing that sort of thing. If not, I guess I might ask on Twitter again, because people seem to think it was fun. Anyway, you guys have a wild, wacky Tuesday, or whatever day you watch this video on. I don't. Is it Tuesday?